What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I hope you like this video. Let's talk about it, you guys. Listen, we got some news yesterday about this Real Housewives franchise that the last couple of months have just been very disconcerting. I've talked about it a few times before. You can go back into the playlist and under quick drops, look at all the conversations we've had about the Real Housewives franchise. But let's talk a little bit about it, and let's kind of go franchise by franchise. So I have a couple of articles here. I'm going to read them, and then we're going to talk about it, all right? So, yesterday, we found out a couple of things yesterday. One sort of shocked me a lot. The other one, not so much. Let's talk about it. This is coming from Heavy.com. Real Housewives of New York rumored to be put on permanent hiatus, and here it is. According to a new August 16th report, or 2021 report from RHOD Online, the network is considering putting the Real Housewives of New York on permanent hiatus. That's just a fancy way of saying canceled. Permanent hiatus, canceled. There is still no confirmed date to shoot the reunion show after being postponed twice. A source revealed to the outlet first August announced that the September date has been canceled as well. But even more concerning, there is no date to start filming season 14. The decision about the show's future, this is a quote, is no longer in the hands of Bravo. After all of the accusations of racism, the decision has gone all the way up to the top bosses at NBC. The gear is that the show is just too controversial now, which is why there is talk about shutting it down until things cool off. The last thing they want is to do is having this show poison the entire franchise. So far, it seems like the viewers haven't been too pleased with this season. Real Housewives of New York has faced its lowest ratings and a lot of fan backlash. There also have been rumors about a potential cast shakeup. Well, I feel like that's the rumor every season on every franchise, that we're going to shake it up, bring in some new blood, do some new things. We'll get back to the Real Housewives of New York in a second. Let's talk about this other article, which came as sort of a shock yesterday for most of us, and we're going to talk about that. Real Housewives of Dallas will not return for season 6 amid indefinite hiatus status. Again, fancy word for cancel. This is coming from Us Weekly. If I can get back to the article, all these ads popping up. There are currently no plans to bring the Real Housewives of Dallas back next year, and beyond that, nothing official has been decided. And this was a statement put out by Bravo on August the 17th. Although the reality series has no plans to film more episodes at this time, the show has not been canceled and is instead on an indefinite hiatus. Another franchise, the Real Housewives of Miami, had a similar fate when filming was paused in 2013. We know that they are now filming season 3, and it's going to be on the Peacock network. I don't know if they're filming it now or they've already filmed it, but we know that they're filming and it's going to be on the Peacock network. As for Dallas, rumors swirled that several cast members weren't looking to come back after season 5. In May, fans noticed newcomer Tiffany Moon added previous cast member, yada, yada, yada. But the anesthesiologist said that she had no plans to quit the show following her explosive debut. Oh, these ads keep popping up. Brandy Redmond made headlines for a racially insensitive video mocking the Asian American community. I never thought we'd be tackling issues such as racism and inequity on a show such as this, she explained to Vice in March. I thought I was supposed to be fun and fluffy, or it was supposed to be fun and fluffy. Following a dramatic recent season, viewers wondered if Brandy was planning to leave the show. Yeah. We know she left the show. She said she was going to leave the show. It goes on from there. So let's talk about it. Let's go back to the Real Housewives of New York for a second. So here's what I'm going to say about the Real Housewives of New York. First of all, I don't watch it. I've never seen it. So my commentary on it is going to be based solely on what I have read and have heard in reference to this season. I do know that there has been a lot of tackling of racial issues. They've added, I believe, 2 women of color this season. I certainly know of one, Ebony. And I know that her and Ramona have been straight up going at it all season as it relates to issues of Black Lives Matter and so forth. Here's the thing, you guys. You may have noticed that The climate has changed on a lot of our reality shows this season. After last summer with Black Lives Matter, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, there seemed to have been exaggerated effort. And I say exaggerated because sometimes I feel like they were trying to make the moment instead of letting the moment just happen, where they almost felt like they were obliged to have a whole Black Lives Matter moment on all of these seasons. Either they started the season with it or they somehow spliced it in. And that goes for pretty much all of our shows this year, including the scripted shows. There had to be some sort of Black Lives Matter moment. As a Black person, I ain't mad, but here's what I don't want to feel like. I don't want to feel like you're doing it as part of a checklist to say, oh, well, we did this, so they won't come after us. I do know that Bravo has made an effort to make sure that all of their casts have been inclusive, where in previous years they had not been. Last year, we got our first Black cast member on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills with Garcelle. We know that New York added a Black, like I said, I think 2 Black women. New Jersey this season has added at least 1 Black woman and Black adjacent, meaning the woman husband is Black. That's another conversation. Potomac, Atlanta, they already met their quota a long time ago. And the OC had not really met their quota. But we did have a whole Black Lives Matter moment with Browyn going to a march and taking her kids and yada, yada, yada. So what I'm going to say about that is this. I think that part of the reason why New York has been placed on permanent hiatus, I think it's the same, or rumored to be, I think it's the same thing we're dealing with Dallas. Racism has become an issue. And I think rather than dealing with the issue, they're choosing to walk away from the issue. Because I have heard a lot of backlash from fans saying, listen, I look at reality TV to get away from the real world. I don't want to deal with all of this on my reality TV. Even Michael Rappaport, who, actor, he's like a super Real Housewives fan. He's been on Watch What Happens Live. He does, he goes on his social media about it. This is a white guy who is a white actor who definitely tackles a lot of racial issues, in a positive way on his social media platforms and stuff. Even he has said, listen, I watch the Housewives to veg out. I don't want to deal with all of this heavy stuff. And I think that's what a lot of the backlash has been. And I can understand that. But I also think that these shows are supposed to be a reflection of our world with the glitz and glamour thrown in. And let's just be real. That was the reality of our world last year. For the last 4 years, it has been, again, for those of us, we've always dealt with it. But there's been a special in your face in the last 4 years. I definitely think that, I honestly think, ain't nobody gonna tell me different. I absolutely think that is what happened down in Dallas. We had the situation with Leanne Locken 2 years ago with her making some, inflammatory remarks about somebody being Mexican and, oh, she's just a Mexican. And they made it out to be that she was this huge racist, which I don't think Leanne is. I never thought she was. Was she out of line? Did she make some comments that were, racially insensitive? She certainly did. But she left the show, i.e. was fired. Then in that summer during the hiatus, Brandy Redmond's videos resurfaced because Brandy made such a big deal about Leanne being this big racist at the reunion and, oh, you don't deserve to sit on the couch with us and you are a horrible person and yada, yada, yada. So y'all know what social media does. Somebody went through all her social media and found this video from years ago where she was making some insensitive comments about Asian people. So then Brandy had to do this whole apology tour, but they kept Brandy on the show. And I found that to be very interesting that Brandy got the whole season to apologize, to address the issue. And they didn't give Leanne that option. Then this season, we had the whole situation with Cameron Westcott and Tiffany Moon. The reason why I feel like this is something that Bravo has decided to walk away from, or NBC rather than deal with, is because they had planned a season 6. They had hired new castmates. They had put out promo pictures. They had even put out press releases of who the new ladies were going to be. And two of them were women of color. So you're not going to tell me that plans for we even had a when they were going to start filming. You're not going to tell me that you didn't plan a season 6. But here's what I think happened. Now, this is just my 2 cents, but that's why you're looking at me talk, because you want to know my 2 cents. Here's my 2 cents. I think that when they announced that Cameron Westcott was coming back, I think they got a lot of backlash about that. Because what Cameron Westcott said, and it wasn't just what Cameron said, it's what her husband said and what her brother-in-law said, and they doubled down on it. If you want to know what they said, go back through my playlist. I did a whole video about it under Quick Drops a few months ago. Okay, it's in there. But what they said to me was the worst out of all of these indiscretions as it relates to race. Yet she's coming back. And I really think that rather than deal with the issue of race for a whole season, which it probably would have lasted really, really long, I think they would just say, listen, we're going to walk away. Now, to be fair, Dallas's ratings have never been that great. It never caught fire. They never had that explosive season that made people be like, oh my gosh, gotta watch Dallas, right? So it was easy for them to walk away, and it was easy for them to say, yeah, we're going to just put a kibosh on this and move on to the next thing. Now, will it come back? Don't know. Because it seems that a whole lot of people are upset about this sudden permanent hiatus status that seemed to have kind of come out of nowhere. Again, do I anticipate some more information trickling out as we go along? I do. Let's talk about a couple of these other franchises. Now, the Real Housewives of the OC, again, lowest ratings that they've seen since their inception was last season. They did bring back some OGs, and they fired some of their more problematic people, i.e. Kelly Dodd, who is still running her racist ass mouth. And yes, I said it. I don't know if that's enough to save it, because honestly, y'all talked me into watching the OC. I watched the OC and I was not impressed. Okay. I just was not impressed with what I saw. So again, do I anticipate the ratings going through the roof this season? Probably not so much. We have the Real Housewives of Atlanta, which we know was in total shambles. The fact that they've had to push back the beginning of filming months. They normally start filming and during the summer. They're not even set to start filming till October. And as of this date, they still don't even have a cast announced yet. Okay. And they're supposed to start filming in October. They're still negotiating contracts. They're still talking about who they want to bring back and who they don't want to bring back. They're still shaking it up, as they would say. And at the end of the day, I just don't know if, short of this whole Portia fiasco, I just don't know if there's enough there for viewers to come back to Atlanta in the numbers that they once did. We do know that Phaedra and Eva have been brought back for the All-Stars mashup over on the Peacock Network. We do know that. But what we don't know is if anyone cares. Potomac, the ratings are okay. They're not as good as last season, but the reality is last season, you had lightning in a bottle. You had a fight that became very controversial that played out in real time while the season was going on. You had a lot of fan participation, choosing camps, and it was all, the whole Monique versus Candace situation. You had that explosive reunion with Monique and her binder and Pastor Holy Whore and all of that. Again, lightning in a bottle. They probably won't hit those numbers this season, but Potomac is pretty damn safe, right? OC and Beverly Hills, let's be honest. Salt Lake City and Beverly Hills, let's be honest. They are saved by a scandal. I honestly think that had the Erica Girardi fiasco had not blown up while they were filming, this season would probably have been just as lackluster as the OC and Dallas, because they couldn't travel. They couldn't really go out and do anything. And let's be honest, we look at Beverly Hills to look through the looking glass and see what life is like on the other side of the wall. We look at Beverly Hills to see the glitz and the glamour. Of course, we like the caddy. Of course, we like the, the yin, yang, yang. But at the end of the day, we like to see the private jets and the chateaus and the penthouse suites with the personal, with the personal valets. And we like seeing what life is like for the other half. And we just weren't going to get that in this, COVID season. We already saw it in the first few episodes before the Erica thing really got huge. We saw it. They were having dinner parties in Kyle's backyard and dressing up in glam just to be in glam. We saw last week's episode where they were sitting, at the table eating their dinner, and Dorit shows up in, her disco Gucci bodysuit, which was a badass outfit, just totally out of place. But just to be glammed up, just to give that whole Beverly Hills moment, that's what we got. And that's the best we were going to get, because they were literally ordering, Uber Eats and eating it at the table at Kyle's, one of her many homes. They weren't even at like a resort, right? Salt Lake City, same thing. It's the baby of the franchise. But again, they got a shot in the arm this season, because what ends up happening while they're filming, one of the stars of the show literally gets indicted and arrested. And the whole season becomes about her. What would we have had? We haven't even started the season yet, and I know the ratings are going to be through the roof, because everybody's going to be waiting for the moment when she gets arrested, and the rest of the season talking about what happened, what didn't happen, is she guilty, is she not guilty, right? Same thing we're going through with the Erica Girardi situation on Beverly Hills. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, my question at the beginning, is the franchise in trouble? You have two of the franchises on permanent hiatus status. You have Real Housewives of Miami not even coming to TV. It's going to be streaming. You have the All Stars episodes are going to be streaming, because you're trying to push traffic over to the streaming app, when honestly, you really need to be focused on Bravo right now, because from what I can tell and from what the ratings are reflecting, we just not running over there. Okay? Y'all tell me in the comments, is the franchise as a whole in trouble, or is it just a victim of 2021/2022 and Rona and, the limitations on filming and movement? I mean, can it bounce back? I ain't even touched New Jersey, which they literally stopped filming New Jersey because the girls just weren't bringing it. And what did we see in last season's New Jersey? Literally, they went to the shore. They were in Jersey. Well, they filmed at home. They filmed at the shore. That's it. That's all. Even their cash trip, they were at a beach house on the shore. You know what I mean? Like, it just was nothing. So, I mean, are we out of storylines? Do we need, shaking it up and bringing in new people? Or was it strictly just a victim of the circumstances and the limitations of filming? And we need to chalk up 2021 to 2022, start fresh, or 2020 and 2021, start fresh in 2022 and give everybody a clean slate. But that would mean bringing Dallas and New York back. What do y'all think?